Hey guys, there's an NBA story nobody tells, and once you hear it, you'll know why. Let's dive in.
The Boston Celtics, the 1960s Dynasty. The Boston Celtics defined winning in the NBA, but their greatest achievement wasn't just a single title. It was the unprecedented stretch of 8 consecutive championships from 1959 to 1966. While the modern era makes a three-peat nearly impossible, the Bill Russell-led Celtics season turned the finals into an annual tradition. The statistical backbone of this era became their utmost defensive dominance. At this point, Russell was regularly ranked among the league leaders in defensive win shares, and he was often posting elite totals for the era. With an in-depth look, this wasn't just about height. It was about a revolutionary fast break system triggered by outlet passes. And in 1962, the Celtics posted an offensive rating of 90.2, which was quite elite for the pace of that era. However, their biggest test came in the 1962 finals against the Lakers, which was a series that went to a Game 7 overtime. In this final, Russell hauled in 40 rebounds, a record that still stands today. This era established the Celtics' mystique, proving that a team built on defensive rebounding and unselfish passing could negate the scoring outbursts of superstars like Wilt Chamberlain. By the time the run ended, the Boston Celtic had secured 11 rings in 13 years. This remains the gold standard for collective excellence, as no team in any major North American sport has ever replicated 8 straight titles. To this day, no NBA team and virtually no modern North American professional team has been able to replicate those 8 straight titles. The Golden State Warriors, the 73-win revolution. In the 2015 to 2016 season, we saw the Golden State Warriors achieve something many thought was statistically impossible. They surpassed the 1996 Bulls by finishing with a 73-9 regular season record. This achievement has no doubt changed how basketball is being played globally. It was led by Stephen Curry, who became the first unanimous MVP in the history of the league. The Warriors didn't just win, they went on to optimize the math of the game. Curry made an incredible 402 three-pointers that very season, shattering his own previous record by over 100. The team finished with a true shooting percentage of 59.3% and a net rating of plus 10.6, which was among the highest true shooting percentages in the league. They had a death lineup which featured Draymond Green, who held down the center, which allowed them to switch everything on defense while still maintaining an intense pace on offense. A major key moment in this run was their 24-0 start to the season. It's been rated as the best opening in the history of the NBA. However, while they famously fell short in the finals, the 73-win achievement remained their greatest feat because it proved that high-volume three-point shooting was not just a gimmick, it was one of the most efficient ways to win. They averaged 30.5 assists per game, showing that their shooting was a byproduct of some elite ball movement. The 73-9 record went on to stand as a testament to a perfect combination of coaching, chemistry, and shot making. The Chicago Bulls, the 1996 returned to glory. After Michael Jordan's 18-month hiatus, many doubted if the Chicago Bulls could ever return to their early 90s glory. However, the 1995 to 1996 season silenced those doubts, resulting in a 4th championship and a then record 72-10 season. This achievement is significant because of the sheer gap in stats between the Bulls and the rest of the league. They went on to lead the NBA in both offensive rating of 115.2 and a 101.8 defensive rating, which was a rare feat that signifies a total league-wide suppression. Michael Jordan averaged 30.4 points per game to win his 8th scoring title, but the addition of Dennis Rodman was a blow to their stats. On the other hand, Rodman led the league with 14.9 rebounds per game, giving the Bulls a 52.6% rebounding percentage. The team was so dominant that they started the season with a 41-3. Their achievement reached its peak in the playoffs, where they went 15-3 and finished the entire year with a combined record of 87-13. This era did showcase the importance of specialized roles. We saw Jordan as the closer, Pippen as the point forward, and Rodman as the glass cleaner. The 1996 Bulls achievement is often cited by analysts as the greatest single-season team because of their efficiency on both ends of the floor. They didn't just beat teams, they went on to effortlessly demoralize them with a plus 12.2 average point differential. The San Antonio Spurs, the 2014 beautiful game. The San Antonio Spurs' greatest achievement isn't just their 5 titles, but specifically the 2014 championship, which is often referred to as the beautiful game finals. After their heartbreaking loss in 2013, the Spurs returned with a brand of basketball that prioritized the extra pass over individual scoring. And in the 2014 finals against the Miami Heat, the Spurs posted an effective field goal percentage of 60.4%, which is rated as one of the highest effective field goal percentages ever recorded in a finals series. They went on to defeat the Heat by an average of 14 points per game, one of the largest average point differentials in the NBA Finals. In Game 3, the Spurs shot 75.8% in the first half, a record that showcased their perfect offensive execution. There were no players on the team that averaged more than 17 points per game during the regular season, yet they won 62 games. This achievement was the highest of the Popovich-Duncan era. Kawhi Leonard, on the other hand, emerged as the Finals MVP, but the story was the team's elite assist numbers and constant ball movement. They rendered Miami's Big Three defense useless through sheer speed of ball movement. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the 3-1 comeback. In 2016, the Cleveland Cavaliers accomplished a feat that had a 0% historical success rate. They overcame a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals against a 73-win team. Prior to this, no team in NBA Finals history had ever come back from a 3-1 shortfall. Cleveland's achievement was anchored on the statistical explosion of LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. Over the final 3 games, James led all players on both teams in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. It was an unprecedented statistical sweep in a playoff series. And there comes Game 5, where both James and Irving scored 41 points, becoming the first duo to achieve 40-plus each in an NBA Finals game. The Cavs' defensive adjustment was equally vital. They held the high-powered Warriors to an average of just 95.6 points over the final 3 games. Irving's game-winning three-pointer and the block marked the conclusion of a defensive struggle in Game 7. James finished the game with 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists, a triple-double. This achievement brought the first major sports championship to Cleveland in about 52 years, fulfilling a promise James made upon his return. The 2016 Cavs achievement remains one of the greatest comebacks in basketball history. The Los Angeles Lakers, the 33-game streak. While the Lakers have 17 titles, their most untouchable statistical achievement occurred during the 1971 to 1972 season, the 33-game winning streak. For over 2 months, from the 5th of November to the 7th of January, the Lakers did not lose a single basketball game. This wasn't just a streak of luck, it was indeed a total tactical overhaul. After years of falling short in the finals, Bill Sharman convinced a veteran Jerry West and an aging Wilt Chamberlain to play a high-tempo, transition-heavy style. Chamberlain went on to sacrifice his scoring, thereby averaging only 14.8 points to focus on being the league's premier rim protector and outlet passer. It's no doubt that the numbers during this stretch were quite staggering. The Lakers won by an average margin of 16 points per game during the streak, including a 134-90 blowout of the Buffalo Braves. They finished the season with a 69-13 record. To put this in perspective, even the 73-win Warriors and the 72-win Bulls never won more than 28 and 18 games in a row, respectively. The streak ended only when they faced the defending champion Bucks, but the momentum carried them to a dominant 4-1 finals victory over the Knicks. The 33-game streak remains the longest winning streak in NBA history. It is the ultimate evidence of what happens when Hall of Fame talent fully buys into a selfless, disciplined system. The Detroit Pistons, the 2004 defensive masterclass. The 2004 Detroit Pistons achieved what many considered impossible in the super team era, winning themselves a championship without a single superstar in the top 10 of MVP voting. Their achievement is defined by the greatest defensive stretch in the shot clock era. After acquiring Rasheed Wallace mid-season, the Pistons held multiple opponents under 70 points late in the season, a feat that will likely never be repeated. And in the 2004 finals against a Lakers team featuring Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton, the Pistons were no doubt heavy underdogs. However, Detroit's starting five utilized a perfectly synchronized defensive rotation. They held the high-powered Lakers to a meager 81.8 points per game throughout the series. Detroit's defensive rating in the finals was a suffocating 88.2, effectively neutralizing Kobe Bryant, who was held to just 22 points per game on 38% shooting. This achievement has remained the gold standard for team basketball, showing that five players working as one unit can overcome a collection of individual legends. Hey, lovers of the NBA, here's the time to prove you're a true fan of the game. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, smash the subscribe button now and turn on the notification bell icon. The Miami Heat, the 27-game heat wave, the Big Three era in Miami reached its statistical peak during the 2012 to 2013 season with a 27-game winning streak. This achievement is quite unique because it highlighted the peak efficiency of LeBron James. During this streak, LeBron James had a stretch where he scored 30-plus points while shooting over 60% from the field in 6 consecutive games, a feat of efficiency which was never seen before from a perimeter player. The Heat's achievement was built on a positionless defensive scheme that forced 15.4 turnovers per game, which was fueled by the speed of LeBron James, Dwyane Wade, and Chris Bosh. During the 27 wins, Miami posted an effective field goal percentage of 56.5%. They weren't just winning, they were trailing in many of these games, including double-digit deficits against Cleveland and Boston, only to switch to a higher defensive gear in the fourth quarter. They went on to finish the season with 66 wins and an offensive rating of 112.3. The streak served as the ultimate proof of concept for the small ball era, with Chris Bosh playing center to pull opposing big men out of the paint. While the streak ended in Chicago, the 27-game winning streak run cemented that roster as one of the most talented and cohesive units in league history, culminating in a back-to-back championship. The Milwaukee Bucks, the 1971 speed run, the 1970 to 1971 Milwaukee Bucks hold a record that often goes overlooked in the history of the NBA. They were the fastest expansion team to win a title, doing so in just their third year of existence. This milestone was powered by the most dominant duo of the era, a young Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then Lou Alcindor, and a veteran Oscar Robertson. The 1971 Bucks were a juggernaut. They led the league with 118.4 points per game and a 50.9% field goal percentage, resulting in the league's top-ranked offense. Kareem was nearly unstoppable, averaging 31.7 points and 16 rebounds on a 57.7% shooting. Meanwhile, Robertson provided the veteran leadership and playmaking, averaging 8.2 assists. Their dominance was most evident in the playoffs, where they went 12-2, including a 4-0 sweep of the Baltimore Bullets in the finals. Their average margin of victory in the finals was 12.2 points. The Bucks went on to finish the season with 66 wins, including a 20-game winning streak. It remains the most efficient start-to-finish season in the history of the franchise. The Dallas Mavericks, the 2011 Gauntlet. The 2011 Dallas Mavericks championship is widely regarded as one of the most difficult gauntlets ever run by a title winner. To achieve their first trophy, Dirk Nowitzki and the Mavericks had to defeat a series of legendary opponents. First, they took down the defending champion Lakers in a 4-0 sweep, the last playoff series of Phil Jackson's career. Then they defeated a young surging Oklahoma City Thunder featuring 3 future MVPs, Durant, Westbrook, and Harden. Finally, they overcame the Big Three of the Miami Heat in the finals. Stat-wise, Dirk Nowitzki's performance was legendary. He averaged 27.7 points in the playoffs while shooting 94.1% from the free throw line. In the finals, the Mavericks' zone defense, implemented by Rick Carlisle and Dwayne Casey, baffled LeBron James, holding him to just 17.8 points per game. Dallas shot 39.4% from three as a team in the finals, proving that veteran shooting and a specialized defensive scheme could topple a more athletic, superstar-led team. The Mavericks' achievement was rooted in clutch performance. They consistently outperformed Miami in late-game situations, outscoring the Heat by a combined 20 points in fourth quarters throughout the series. This has remained one of the greatest underdog title runs in modern history of the NBA. The Houston Rockets, the sixth seed anomaly. The 1994 to 1995 Houston Rockets produced the most statistically improbable championship run in history of the NBA by becoming the first and only sixth seed to win a title. After a 47-35 regular season and a mid-season trade for Clyde Drexler, the Rockets entered the playoffs as massive underdogs with one of the lowest regular season ratings ever for an eventual champion. In a bid to defend their crown, they were expected to defeat four teams that won 57 or more games, starting with a 60-win Utah Jazz team in the first round. Hakeem Olajuwon went on to anchor the run with a historic individual output, thereby averaging 33 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 3 blocks per game across the entire postseason. The turning point did occur in the Western Conference Finals against MVP David Robinson and the 62-win Spurs, where Olajuwon posted 35.3 points per game on a 56% shooting. Unfortunately, Houston's strategy revolves around 4-out spacing, allowing shooters like Robert Horry and Kenny Smith to exploit doubles triggered by Olajuwon's interior gravity. And by the time they swept the 57-win Orlando Magic in the finals, the Rockets had completed a gauntlet where they faced elimination in the first 2 rounds and trailed in every Western Conference series. They proved that playoff experience and high leverage efficiency can override a mediocre regular season record. The Philadelphia 76ers. In 1983, the Philadelphia 76ers executed one of the most dominant postseasons in the history of basketball, nearly fulfilling Moses Malone's faux prediction. After 3 finals losses in 6 years, the Philadelphia Stars went on to trade for Malone, the reigning MVP, who immediately led with a 15.3 rebounds per game. The 76ers finished the regular season with 65 wins and an elite net rating of plus 7.5, the highest in the NBA. Their defensive scheme utilizes Malone's rebounding dominance and his interior positioning to gamble for steals and create a transition-heavy offense. Meanwhile, the Sixers steamrolled through the Eastern Conference, sweeping the Knicks and needing only 5 games to eliminate the Bucks, thereby resulting in the famous faux adjustment. And in their finals, they face the defending champion Lakers and proceed to relentlessly dominate the Lakers on the glass, outmuscling Los Angeles in every single game of the sweep. Moses Malone went on to dominate Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, averaging 25.8 points and 18.0 rebounds in the 4-game sweep. The team finished the playoffs with a 12-1 record, which at the time was the best winning percentage in postseason history. The 1983 Sixers remain the gold standard for a team that systematically dismantled every obstacle in its path. The Toronto Raptors, the Northern Breakthrough. The 2019 Toronto Raptors achieved a historic milestone as the first team outside the United States to win an NBA title by executing a high-risk roster overhaul. After trading franchise icon DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard and later acquiring Marc Gasol at the deadline, Toronto built a defensive unit with no statistical weak points, featuring multiple all-defensive caliber stoppers across the rotation. Leonard delivers an all-time postseason performance, scoring 732 total points, which ranks as the 3rd highest scoring output in a single playoff run behind only Michael Jordan and LeBron James. Their achievement is defined by tactical versatility as coach Nick Nurse employs a bold box-and-one defense to neutralize Stephen Curry in the finals, a scheme that is rarely seen at the professional level. Stats-wise, Pascal Siakam averages 19.8 points in the finals, including a legendary Game 1 where he shoots 82.4% from the field. The bench production is equally historic, with Fred VanVleet hitting 16 three-pointers in the series, the most ever for a bench player in the history of NBA Finals. Toronto shoots 37.6% from three-point range during the series, consistently outspacing the Warriors' defense, and And impressively, the Raptors won 3 games at the Oracle Arena, becoming one of the very few teams to beat Steve Kerr's Warriors 3 times on the road in a single playoff series. Their victory in Game 6 ends a 24-year wait for the franchise and stops a Golden State three-peat. The Raptors prove that aggressive gambles pay off when the defensive infrastructure is elite. The New York Knicks. The 1970 resilience. The New York Knicks won their first championship in 1970 through a blend of league-leading defense and one of the most famous psychological turning points in sports history. They finished the regular season with a 60-22 record, becoming the first team in the history of the NBA to reach the 60-win milestone. This dominance was fueled by a then-record 18-game winning streak that established their defensive identity. The Knicks were an absolute juggernaut, anchored by a retroactive defensive rating of 92.4, the best in the league. Their offensive system, led by Walt Frazier's 8.2 assists per game, focused on high percentage looks and selfless ball movement rather than the individual scoring titles. However, the entire season was nearly derailed when Captain Willis Reed suffered a severe muscle tear in his thigh during Game 5 of the finals. Without their primary interior defender to check Wilt Chamberlain, New York looked finished, but in Game 7, Reed provided the ultimate spark. He hobbled out of the tunnel and onto the court just minutes before tip-off, scoring the Knicks' first 2 baskets on his only 2 shot attempts of the game. While he didn't score again, his presence alone broke the Lakers' defensive focus, pulling Wilt away from the rim and opening up the floor for his teammates. Reed, on the other end, provided the heart. Walt Frazier delivered the greatest Game 7 performance in history, recording 36 points, 19 assists, and 7 rebounds while shooting a perfect 12 for 12 from the free throw line. The Knicks shot 51% as a team and effectively neutralized the Lakers' legendary trio of Chamberlain, West, and Baylor. By holding Wilt to just 21 points on 16 attempts, New York proved that a team-first system could dismantle a collection of the greatest individual scorers ever. Stop NBA police right here. Have you smashed that subscribe button yet? Do that right now and turn on the notification bell icon. The Seattle Supersonics, the 1979 redemption, the 1978 to 1979 Seattle Supersonics won their only NBA championship by executing a defensive masterclass that serves as a direct redemption for a previous failure. After losing Game 7 of the 1978 finals to the Washington Bullets, the Sonics return with the league's #1 ranked defense, allowing only 103.8 points per game. The backcourt duo of Gus Williams and Dennis Johnson became the stats engine, with Williams averaging 29.0 points in the finals. The Sonics' strategy relies on a relentless transition game and offensive rebounding as they grab 15.0 offensive boards per game in the series. Dennis Johnson, who famously shot 0 for 14 in the previous year's Game 7, won the finals MVP by averaging 22.6 points and nearly 2 blocks per game from the guard position. Seattle holds the defending champion Bullets to a meager 39.6% field goal percentage throughout the 5-game series. The Sonics won 4 straight games after dropping the opener, outscoring Washington by a total of 33 points over the final 4 contests. This achievement remains a landmark in Pacific Northwest sports history. It is the first time in the modern shot clock era a team has avenged a Game 7 finals loss against the same opponent from the following season. The Los Angeles Lakers, the near-perfect run. While the Lakers' history is filled with titles, the 2000 to 2001 postseason stands as their most dominant peak. After an up-and-down regular season characterized by the growing friction between Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, the Lakers entered the playoffs and executed the most dominant run in NBA history at the time. They became the first team to go through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs undefeated, sweeping the Portland Trail Blazers, the 55-win Sacramento Kings, and the #1 seeded San Antonio Spurs. The stats engine of this run was Shaquille O'Neal in his physical prime. Shaq averaged 30.4 points, 15.4 rebounds, and nearly 2.5 blocks per game throughout the postseason, a level of interior gravity that forced every opponent into a number crisis. Alongside him, a 22-year-old Kobe Bryant emerged as a superstar in his own right, averaging 28.5 points and 5 assists per game. The Lakers' dominance was most evident in the Western Conference Finals against San Antonio, where they outscored the Twin Towers-led Spurs by an average of 22.2 points per game, including 2 massive blowouts on the Spurs' home floor. The Lakers entered the finals with an 11-0 record, seeking the first undefeated postseason in history. That quest was famously spoiled in Game 1 by Allen Iverson's 48-point masterpiece, but the Lakers responded by winning 4 straight to finish with a 15-1 record. Their 93.8% winning percentage remained the all-time playoff record for 16 years. By the time they hoisted the trophy, they had posted a playoff net rating north of plus 13.4, proving that when Shaq and Kobe were aligned, the talent gap between them and the rest of the league was statistically insurmountable. The Phoenix Suns, 7 seconds or less. The 2004 to 2005 Phoenix Suns achieved a transformation that fundamentally altered the NBA's offensive geometry. After a 29-win season, the Suns signed Steve Nash and implement Mike D'Antoni's 7 seconds or less system, which prioritizes shooting a high percentage look as early as possible in the shot clock. The results are immediate and statistically overwhelming. Phoenix leaps to 62 wins, orchestrating a plus 33 win turnaround. They led the league in scoring at 110.4 points per game and posted a league best offensive rating of 112.7, which was more than 8 points higher than the NBA average. And as at that time, it represents one of the most efficient offenses in history. Steve Nash won the first of his back-to-back MVPs, leading the league with 11.5 assists per game while averaging about 50% from the field and 43% from deep, flirting with the elusive 50-40-90 club. And stats-wise, the Suns proved that small ball is viable. They lead the league in three-point attempts and percentage, shooting 39.3% from deep. Despite not being able to secure a title during this window, their achievement is defined by their legacy as the tactical architects of the modern NBA. The pace and spacing they pioneered became the foundation for the Golden State Warriors dynasty a decade later. Before this team, people thought playing fast was a recipe for losing. The Indiana Pacers, the 2004 defensive wall. The 2003 to 2004 Indiana Pacers achieved the best record in franchise history by mastering a brand of physical, high IQ defense that pushed the era's elite to their limits. Finishing with 61 wins, the Pacers boast the number 1 ranked defensive rating in the NBA at 95.0. Led by Ron Artest, the Defensive Player of the Year, and the interior presence of Jermaine O'Neal, Indiana allows just 85.9 points per game. Their stats dominance was built on forcing turnovers and contesting shots without fouling, and their opponents shoot approximately 43% from the field against them. And in the playoffs, they reach the Eastern Conference Finals, where they engage in one of the most defensive-heavy series in history against the Detroit Pistons. Despite the loss on their end, the Pacers is marked by their consistency. They never lose more than 2 games in a row throughout the entire regular season, while Jermaine O'Neal, on the other hand, averages a double-double with 2.6 blocks. The team's net rating of plus 5.4 did reflect their ability to grind out wins in low-scoring affairs. This particular season, no doubt, remains the gold standard for Pacers basketball, proving that a small market team could build a championship-caliber identity through defensive culture and internal development. The Minnesota Timberwolves, the 2004 MVP peak. The 2003 to 2004 Minnesota Timberwolves achieved their greatest height by building the league's most versatile roster around Kevin Garnett's MVP season. Garnett produces a stat masterpiece averaging 24.2 points, 13.9 rebounds, 5.0 assists, 1.5 steals, and 2.2 blocks per game. He led the league in total rebounds and recorded a league-best 8.0 defensive win shares, serving as a one-man defensive system. Supported by veterans like Sam Cassell and Latrell Sprewell, the Timberwolves went on to secure the #1 seed in a hyper-competitive Western Conference with 58 wins. They were highlighted by a grueling 7-game series victory over the Sacramento Kings, where Garnett recorded a legendary 32 points, 21 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals in the deciding Game 7. It's no doubt that the 2004 Wolves are elite in the clutch, winning a high percentage of games decided by 5 points or less. They went on to finish the season with a plus 5.2 net rating, proving they could compete with the heavyweight Lakers and Spurs. The injuries of Cassell hampered their Western Conference Finals run, but this season remains the franchise's definitive achievement, representing the only time the Timberwolves reached the Western Conference Finals until the 2024 season. The Portland Trail Blazers, the 1990 to 1992 climb. The Portland Trail Blazers of the early 90s achieved a level of sustained excellence that is often overshadowed by the Bulls dynasty, but despite that, they were the second best team of the era. Led by Clyde Drexler, the Blazers reached the NBA Finals twice in 3 years, 1990 and 1992. In the 1990 to 1991 season, they won a franchise record 63 games, boasting a staggering SRS of 8.47, which is the second highest mark in the league. The franchise system is built on a high-intensity style that leads the league in offensive rebounding, thereby creating endless second-chance opportunities. And in the 1992 Finals against Chicago, the Blazers proved their mettle by pushing the series to 6 games. Clyde Drexler matches Michael Jordan's impact for much of the run, averaging 25.0 points per game in the 92 playoffs. The Blazers' achievement is basically their depth. They are one of the few teams in history to have 7 players average double figures in a single season. Their dominance at home was quite legendary, as they famously went 4 straight months without a home loss during the 1990 to 91 season, thereby turning the Memorial Coliseum into a fortress. Though they didn't capture the ring. But this era of Blazers basketball is the pinnacle of the franchise's modern history. And there you have it. If you have followed through up here, do let me know in the comment section which of these team stats made you a fan or was unbelievable. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button to stay updated with everything NBA, and give this video a thumbs up so others can see it. Don't snooze, don't lose.
That's one chapter of NBA history, but there are chapters you've never heard. Stories buried under highlights and championships. Stories that reveal who these athletes really are. There's another one coming, and it's profound. Gheorghe Mureșan. The NBA was not built for this. With a measurement of 7 feet 7 inches, Mureșan is often considered as a giant of war who found his way to the basketball court. For every time he gets on the court, games often seem misaligned as the floor markings do feel close and clothe rim quite low for him. Having played for Washington Bullets, it's always complicated for defenders to approach him, as he didn't look like every regular player in the league. During the 1995 to 1996 NBA season, Mureșan was considered as the most improved player. It was difficult to jump at him contesting for the ball, as his height equals strength, fearlessness, determination, and defiance. Mureșan was that NBA player who could easily score with his height, easily block shots, and take advantage of spaces. While his height was an added advantage to the game, its disadvantages were also noticeable. He suffered numerous injuries in his knee, ankle, and even his back, which all led to an abrupt end to his career at the age of 29. He was able to play a total of 307 games, which amounts to 6 seasons in the league, as his career averages were 9.8 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game, and 1.5 BPG. Gheorghe Mureșan and Manute Bol are considered as the tallest players ever in the history of the NBA. Manute Bol, when distance stopped meaning safety. Just as Gheorghe Mureșan, Manute Bol shares the same height of 7 feet 7 inches. Bol has an insane wingspan that gives the opponents tough time. He easily gets to defend space instead of defending players, while shot blockers try to meet him at his level, but often fail. The reality dawned on the league that the spacing rule, which had been implemented as no locus standing around him. For every time guards tried to outsmart him on the court, he showed the superiority of his hand and got the game going in his team's favor. Bol is considered as the only player in the history of the NBA to retire as a block expert. During the course of his career, he blocked a total of 2,086 shots, which is more than the points he ever scored in the league. with a total of 1,599. But unlike Mauritian, ball height didn't come with an added strength. With his 7 feet 7 inches, his weight was measured as 200 pounds, which was quite light considering his height. For a player of his height, Ball had a pretty low career field goal percentage of 40.7 and averaged 2.6 points per game. His tallness made him less agile in transition, unlike the smaller players in the league. Unfortunately for Ball, his career sadly ended in 1994, following a knee injury, despite his love for the game. Ball went on to play a total of 624 games, totaling to 10 season games in the league, but he went on to win 2 times NBA block leaders in 1986 and 1989, Shawn Bradley, when height became a target. Unlike Mauritian and Ball height, Shawn Bradley prided himself as a 7 feet 6 inches player, who easily made up the trio of the tallest players in the NBA league. Bradley is that player who simply understood the power of his jump. To players who contested at him, he simply showed why his height was an advantage on every court and at every arena. He had a good jumping ability, which made him a top priority considering how he easily blends it well with his height. And due to this unique combination, he was drafted too in 1993 as the franchise saw him as a big deal. For centers in his era, Bradley stood out as opponents saw him as a threat in pick-and-pop scenarios on the court. Bradley also possessed a soft touch ability, which saw him accumulate a 71.6% free throw line during his career. While his height was an advantage on the paint, he met more muscular players like Shaq O'Neal. He often couldn't hold his ground during post-up defense because of his lower body strength. By the time he found his way to the league, he was barely weighing 235 pounds. Bradley's height also caused him several foul troubles. Unlike Mauritian and Ball, Bradley was able to play a total of 832 league games, which equals to 12 seasons, where he was able to play with teams like 76ers, Mavs, and Nets. Yao Ming, when size came with control. Here's another 7 feet 6 inch player, Yao Ming. But this is a player that changed the perspective of many about what a player of his caliber should look like. Yao looked well-balanced, calculative, and more calm than what anyone expected of him. The Houston Rockets saw him as a solid offensive powerhouse. Defenders simply had nothing against him, as he often engaged contact without mostly reacting to it. Yao's height came with a meek patience that allows him to tweak technical skills that puts him at the forefront. He had a career 83.3% free throw, which is mind-blowing for a player of his height. His weight was an added benefit which made him a two-edged sword on the court. Yao weighed 310 pounds, that made him have a solid lower body strength that can challenge centers the likes of Shaq on the court, without being intimidated. In their head-to-head matchup stats, Yao possessed 18.6 points and 10.5 rebounds. Each time Yao gets double-teamed, he easily calculates his move based on his in-depth understanding of the triangle and finds open teammates whenever he is boxed. But just like how being good doesn't make a player less prone to injury, Yao's career suffered multiple stress fractures on his left feet as a result of his height and weight. And by the age 30, Yao was made to have that tough retirement decision when his broken feet wouldn't heal properly. Yao didn't get enough time to recover from the wear and tear of the NBA League. During his offseason, he often spent it playing for the Chinese national team. Despite all of these, he honorably bowed out of the league as an 8-time NBA All-Star and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016. Taco Fall. When the game shrinks instantly. Here is another modern giant in the history of the NBA, Taco Fall, a 7 feet 6 inches player. Fall has an historic reach of 10 feet 2.5 inches standing reach and an 8 foot 2.25 inches wingspan, which makes it quite easy for him to own the dunk when given the opportunity. During his NCAA days at UCF, he had a record of 74% career field goal, and by the time he upgraded to the NBA, he maintained his high efficiency in all rounds. In the presence of Taco, guards often lose their calculations, as they rather take the ball out of the paint upon sighting him there, than risking a shot which would most times get blocked by him. Fall's height and weight of 311 pounds blends well into his ability, which makes him another yet undisputed rim protector during defensive scenarios. The evolution of pace and space in the modern NBA games made it perplexing for him to have a permanent home in the league. Fall was also one of the giants who couldn't have a successful throw shot, as he had a 32% throw shot from a free throw line in his career. His stamina was a huge denting factor on his career, as it had a huge impact on his NBA career. If you enjoy this kind of NBA content, subscribe to the channel. Victor Wembanyama, height that shouldn't move like this. Victor Wembanyama is that player that sends shivers down the spine of many players before even coming on the court. This wasn't as a result of his height, as he was only 7 feet 4 inches, but because he understood how to control his very own body effectively despite his height. Wembanyama is considered as a fierce player on the court, as he does complement elite coordination in his team. And as of 2026, he is considered to be a perennial all-star player who has a defensive force on the court. His wingspan, which is measured at 8 feet, makes him a stumbling block that often blocks rim attempts and three-pointers. And during the 2024 and 2025 season of the league, he went on to lead in blocks. Well, that's not all for him. Wembanyama has an incredible release point that measures up to 10 feet in the air, making his jump almost impossible to contest with on the court. Just like how his presence causes phobia in the heart of opponents, injury seems to be the only thing that keeps him stoppable. During the early part of 2025, he was faced with a challenging blood clot in his shoulder, and he is considered to be prone to injury due to his height and 235 pounds weight. Wembanyama still has to struggle in the face of bullish centers like Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. In 2024, Wembanyama was considered the Rookie of the Year and went on to be an all-defensive first team with a career high of 50 points and 10 blocks. Boban Marjanovic. When minutes feel louder than points. Here is another incredible 7 feet 4 inches player, Boban Marjanovic, who doesn't stress himself to play long stretches, as his impact is almost felt instantly. During the course of his career, Boban held on to the player efficiency rating in the history of the NBA, thereby surpassing the league's legend like Michael Jordan and LeBron James in minutes impact. Unlike other player giant types that have graced the league, Boban did have an incredible soft touch, bringing his career as a 76.2% free throw shooter, while he also possessed a very reliable mid-range ability to jump. Apart from his stats flair, Boban is often considered as an asset to the team due to his gentle nature. This attribute journeyed him across 6 different franchises in the league: Pistons, Clippers, Spurs, 76ers, Rockets, and Maverick. Despite his unique selling prowess, Boban was still a major defensive liability, as he was more vulnerable around the perimeter, which was as a result of his low lateral quickness, which made it difficult for him to stay in front of faster guards in the league. And during transition, he often gets to struggle on the court, which makes it an advantage for the opposing team. Boban has gone ahead to play a total of 9 seasons in the league spanning from 2015 to 2024. Ralph Sampson. When height came with expectations too heavy, Ralph Sampson is another 7 feet 4 inches player, but who somehow didn't live up to the expectations a lot of people have for him. Sampson wasn't just a random player, he was indeed a generational athlete who moved with a 6'7" wingspan, and went on to create the Twin Towers with Hakeem Olajuwon. He was the first unicorn in the history of the NBA, with incredible skills that were ahead of its time. Sampson had that guard agility like no one else. He could simply handle the ball while in transition, lead a fast break, and still pull up effortlessly for a mid-range jumper. And during his healthy years of 1983 and 1986, he was crowned the Machine, who went on to win the Rookie of the Year, who averaged 21.0 points per game and 11.1 rebounds per game. His height also made him a solid rim protector, who averaged on 2.0 blocks per game during his peak season. His height also gave him the notable famous shot in the history of the NBA that eliminated the Showtime Lakers in the 1986 Western Conference Finals. With his notable career came his career decline. Sampson suffered a series of both knee and back injuries in 1986, and at the age of 27, he couldn't keep up but bowed out. During his peak season, he was a 4-time All-Star across 1983 and 1986, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012. Mark Eaton. When the paint became restricted airspace. Mark Eaton is very special, considering how he came into the league. From being discovered as an auto mechanic at the age of 21, to becoming one of the greatest shot blocker in the history of the league. As a 7 foot 4 inches player with wide frame shoulders, Eaton was able to protect the rim in a way that Utah Jazz stood out for over a decade. In a single season of 1984 to 1985, Eaton went on to have an impressive block record of 456 blocks, thereby averaging 5.6 blocks per game, which has gone on to be a solid record no one has gone on to break even in the modern era of the NBA. Easton was one of the few players in the league that can easily contest a dunk or even a layup just by simply standing while stretching his arms upward. Several opposing players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Hakeem Olajuwon often saw him as that difficult defender to bypass, to give a solid shot due to his presence. Eaton was able to play a total of 875 games over 11 seasons. But while no player is flawless, Eaton had certain physical limitations. He was often slow in transition and never an offensive threat, as he averaged just 6.0 points per game during the course of his career. Easton often struggles with post moves and ball handling, which made his primary job to be a set screen for John Stockton, while he was able to keep it up for a long period in time. A chronic knee and back injury came calling that forced him to his retirement in 1993 at the age of 36 years old. Considering how he came into the league, he did quite well for himself, as he was a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year in 1985 and 1989, and also 1989 NBA All-Star. Kristaps Porzingis, too tall for old labels. Kristaps Porzingis, aka the Unicorn who stands at 7 feet 3 inches, is an elite player that combines a solid three-point shooting with rim protection. Porzingis, who also has a 7'6" wingspan, is considered as one of the most dangerous pick-and-pop threat players in the league. Porzingis is a 36% three-point shooter, unlike every other traditional Giant player. And as a rim protector, his height makes him a blessing to the Atlanta Hawks, where he presently plays. After being traded from Boston Celtics, his height often allows him to easily block and recover shots, even when he is not well positioned. During his days at the New York Knicks, he was the 2018 All-Star. And during his days at the Boston Celtics, he got himself an NBA championship in 2024. Porzingis also had a fair share of physical challenges. In 2018, he had a notable torn ACL, which followed with a persistent meniscus, Achilles, and ankle injuries. His height also makes him prone to bullies from shorter, strong players as a result of center of gravity, which is quite high. He's also prone to perimeter vulnerabilities. Bol, when height looks experimental. Bol, son of Manute Bol, also makes it to the list. Like father, like son. Bol is measured at 7 feet 2 inches, about 5 inches shorter than his father. While he has a similar height as his father, their gaming ability is totally different. Bol is that Phoenix Sun rotational player who is often classified as a video game character due to some of the skills he embodies, which many consider not to be embodied by a human. With a 7'8" wingspan, Bol is one of the 7-foot Giants players that can easily dribble a full court of players, grab a rebound effortlessly, and still finish with a solid three-pointer. He is considered as a unicorn player with impressive skills. His perimeter shooting often makes him a spectacular floor spacing threat to opponents. While Bol is quite calculative with his moves, he often sends shivers to the spine opponents as they sometimes can't phantom his next moves. Just like his father, Bol doesn't necessarily need to be in a perfect position before he gets to block shots. Ball length often gives him an added advantage that makes him contest even in late situations, which makes it almost impossible for other players to defend. Bol has an incredible 9'7" standing that lets him finish at the rim without stressing over dunk. Despite his height, his 220 pounds weight makes him thin for the skills and height he possesses. Bol easily gets pushed by bullish centers as he often struggles to hold his ground. While Bol has that speed agility, he is considered a perimeter defense liability as he lacks the defense IQ and quickness of modern NBA guards. Bol has also had his fair share of injury. At some point in 2024 and 2025, he missed playing time as a result of his ankle, knee, and foot contusion. Chuck Nevitt. When the court looked unfamiliar, it's Nevitt time. With a standing measurement of 7 feet 5 inches, Chuck Nevitt was that tall player on the court that couldn't fit properly on televisions, as cameras often struggled to capture him in full frame. He holds on to being the tallest player to ever win an NBA championship with the Lakers in 1985. And during his days with the Detroit Pistons, Nevitt moved like a cult figure. Whenever he stepped on the court, the fans often erupt with chants of Nevitt time, which shows the Pistons had a victory at hand. Nevitt had a short play time, but he always ensured to make it count as a solid shot blocker. During his rookie year, he averaged 2.0 blocks within 10.7 minutes per game. And when it comes to contests and shots, Nevitt does it effortlessly. His presence often intimidates opponents' shot arcs whenever they come across him on the court. Nevitt has an invisible advantage that helps the likes of Hakeem Olajuwon and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to train and prepare with his height against opponents. With his 7 feet 5 inches height, his 217 pounds weight often fails to complement his size. This has caused him not to be a solid dunker threat on the court. During the course of his career, he averaged just 1.6 points per game. Nevitt holds the record of having one of the lowest minutes per game averages for 9 years. He went on to play a total of 826 minutes during the total course of his NBA career. Nevitt never started any game in the league during the course of his 155 appearances. This is no doubt a wild stat for Nevitt. Sim Buehler. When size entered without a blueprint. Sim Buehler is that NBA player that wasn't built like every other traditional elite man of the league. With a height of 7 feet 5 inches and a weight of 360 pounds, Buller is one of the most physically imposing players to ever step on the NBA court. Buller's physique makes him a solid player that could easily hold his ground against any center on the court. He is considered as an extra dominant force in low post and a constant threat to offensive rebounds with his intimidating physique. Buller went on to play on 3 games for the Sacramento Kings. With a 7'9" wingspan and a perfect blend of 9'9" standing reach, Buller can easily block shots or alter any attempts, making him a frustrating player to opponents. Buller's weight and height came with a stamina complex issue, which often made him wind down for an average of 2 to 3 minutes during game time. His weight makes it difficult to meet up with the required transition speed of the modern game of the league. His leg and feet were not exempted in his complications, as his weight on the court makes him prone to knee, fractures, joint, and ankle injuries. Rick Smits, when height was quietly reliable. The dunking Dutchman. Rick Smits, who was the offensive anchor of the Indiana Pacers during one of their most successful eras in the league. With a 7 feet 4 inches, Smits is one of the giant players who is a classified dunker. He has a mid-range jumping ability that is almost impossible to block no matter the angle he's coming from. He has a LN elite shooting touch that Shaq considers as one out of the 4 players he detests playing against, as he can't stop their perimeter game. Despite not being able to consistently hit the 15 to 18 jumper, Smits often draws defenders away from the rim with a calculative move that often stretches defense and creates a clean space for his teammates to give the perfect shot. Despite his accomplishments of being an NBA All-Star in 1998, he also suffered from a complex chronic foot injury, which underwent multiple surgeries and spent most of his off-court moments soaking his feet in Ive bucket. Giant heights are usually an added advantage for rebounds on the court, but for Smits, it was not so. For Smits, he averaged 6.1 rebounds per game during the course of his career. His center of gravity is quite high, which makes it easier for shorter, stronger players to box him easily. Smits was able to play a total of 12 seasons during the course of his career, with all seasons played with the Indiana Pacers. If you're enjoying this, subscribe and drop a like. Thanks. Artis Gilmore. When height was anchored by strength. Artis Gilmore, also known as the A-Train, is that strongest player in the era between Shaquille O'Neal and Wilt Chamberlain. Measured at over 7 feet 2 inches, Gilmore's career embraced both ABA and the NBA, where he stood out as one of the most efficient, imposing centers to play on the court. Gilmore holds the record of the highest career field goal percentage in the history of the NBA. With a 599, Gilmore didn't just dunk, he ensured he always utilized his soft left hand that is almost impossible to contest with because of his strength and height. Gilmore weighed between 240 and 300 pounds. He was no doubt durable on the court, and went on to play a total of 670 consecutive games across ABA and NBA games. His quick feet and arm complement his height, which made him an elite rim protector. Gilmore averaged 2.4 blocks per game during the course of his professional career. During the course of his 17 professional seasons, Gilmore earned himself 11-time All-Star honors and a 4-time rebounding ABA champion. Wilt Chamberlain, when height felt mythical. Wilt Chamberlain is often classified as one of the greatest athletes in the history of the NBA. With a height measured at 7 feet 1 inch and a weight spanning between 250 and 310 pounds, his physique often changed games. Wilt was a solid world-class track and field athlete who also balanced his jumping ability to own his space on the court. Wilt was noted to run an average of 10.9 seconds on a 10-yard dash and a 49.0 second on a 440-yard dash, which often makes him outrun an entire team in transition. This was no doubt an ability many 7-foot players cannot brace themselves to. His strength is unparalleled to anyone in the league. This agility makes him maintain a solid deep post position against defenders, which led to the famous 100-point game, and when he averaged 50.4 points per game in a season. Wilt's athleticism and height made the NBA change their rules. Offensive goaltending was banned, the lane was widened, and free throw rules were changed. Despite being strong, his height made him a soft target to shorter and stockier defenders, who would often get under him in order to get him out of rebounding position on the court. Wilt went on to play a total of 45.8 minutes per game over his course of career. The massive workload he embodied in 1969 went on to cause a major knee injury in the same year that led to his final moment in the league. Zydrunas Ilgauskas, when height became precision. Big Z stood solid as a 7 feet 3 inches player, weighed roughly 260 pounds. Big Z's career is notable for reinvention in the history of the NBA. He possesses a notable skill and physique that was way ahead of his time. he had the best mid-range jump for any giant during his era. His career was a notable 78% free throw shooter that could conveniently knock out 18 to 20-foot jumpers, which often frustrates opponents whenever they sight him around the paint and settle for him around the perimeter. Big Z was also an elite rim protector through solid positioning. He is Cavaliers' all-time leader in blocks with a total of 1,269 blocks. Between 1996 and 2001, Big Z underwent 5-foot surgeries, which made him miss the entire 1996 to 1997 season and 1999 to 2000 seasons as a result of broken bones in his feet. Big Z had a tough time with transition speed, and he was left out during the late 2000s as the league adjusted fully to a speed-up in transition. Despite his challenges, Big Z went on to win 2-time NBA All-Stars in 2003 and 2005. He retired fully in 2014 with Cleveland. Hasheem Thabeet, the wall that couldn't move, measured at 7 feet 3 inches and weighed at 263 pounds with a 7'6" wingspan. Thabeet was coined a one-man zone defense. He was nearly unguardable in college, making the paint his no-fly zone and earning him the number 2 overall selection in the 2009 draft. For a minute, the league thought it had found the answers to its prayers. A man so tall and wide that he didn't even need to be that athletic because his very presence cast a shadow over the rim. However, the harsh realities of the league eventually set in for Thabeet. While his size was a gift when it came to shot blocking, it worked against him when it came to mobility. He looked as if he was windmilling his arms to keep up with the league's fast break. At 263 pounds, he was relatively top-heavy, which meant that pesky little veteran big men could get him out of position before he even knew what hit him. Averaging only 2.2 points and 0.8 blocks for his career, he bounced around the league as a situational big man, never quite living up to the potential of the big man the Memphis Grizzlies thought they were getting. Despite his shortcomings in the NBA, he's still getting it done overseas though. Luke Kornet, the gravity-defying giant. During the pace and space era, 7 feet 2 inches eclipse. Luke Kornet is a giant of the modern game. Kornet isn't a paint clogger like the bigs of the 90s. He created the Kornet contest, where he would jump from several feet away and get in the way of the shooter's line of sight to the rim. It makes the court a little smaller for the offense. Even if the ball isn't in his hands, you can still feel the presence of this 7 feet 2 inches giant. As a stretch 5, Kornet was drafted for his shooting stroke, which is uncharacteristically soft for someone his size. No doubt, with great height comes great struggle moving laterally. In a switch-heavy league, he's often left alone to deal with the elite guards trying to shake him with his large reach. He comes in at 250 pounds, which is mobile enough to keep him in the rotation, but still has to endure the punishment of the 82-game season. Whether he's throwing down a fundamental dunk or trying to contest a three-pointer from the restricted area, Kornet is an essential part of the Boston Celtics' depth. He's the giant who adjusted to the pace and space era. Instead of slowing the game down with his size, he messes with the vision of those who want to speed it up. Edi Tavares, the Cape Verdean fortress, standing 7 feet 3 inches and entering the league with a 7'9" wingspan that seemed to stretch from sideline to sideline. Edi Tavares is a towering giant. Originally found in Cape Verde working at a convenience store, his path to the NBA seemed like a Hollywood tale. And playing for the Hawks and Cavaliers during his time in the league, Tavares had moments of looking like a generational rim protector. However, the NBA's shift to smaller and quicker lineups put him in a tough spot. His massive 265-pound weight made him an immovable force in a half-court setting, but a heavy-footed liability when the game transitioned into a track meet. Like most men his size, it was nearly impossible to simultaneously guard the three-point line and the paint, which limited his playing time. Tavares did not let the fast-paced nature of the NBA prevent him from becoming one of the more feared men in basketball. He took his talents overseas to Real Madrid of the EuroLeague, where he became the most dominant force in the league, earning the reputation as the best defender in Europe, earning multiple EuroLeague Defensive Player of the Year awards. And these are every outrageous height ever seen on the NBA court. Lovers of NBA, there you have it. Let me know in the comment section which of these players made the NBA fun to watch. I'll be in the comment. Don't forget to like and share this video. Hey guys, I just learned something about the NBA that honestly shocked me. It changes how you see everything. Watch this.